Yes, let's, lady there.
I'm sorry, I should comment on the end, but I can't have to speak out now. I don't think any of the factor, passion, profit, purpose, and profit is the factor of what we can win, because you can think about the Merrill Lynch, AIG, and Lehman Brothers. They are the passion had driven them for so many years. They were powerful. They were profitable. They have exact purpose why they failed. I think that factor, my answer is that ability of managing uncertainty and the current circumstances. This is my conclusion. Sorry for that.
Oh, you're welcome to your conclusion, and thank you very much for sharing it with us. I don't know if you want to respond to that, Vikram.
Well, you know, in some ways, to blend a couple of these, it is a mix of things that one requires, but if we had to have a sort of compass to point us in the right direction, I do think that even though Lehman Brothers and others had purpose, they strayed away from the purpose, and the purpose can't be simply making money. If the purpose is to provide a financial product that works for the clients, my sense is that some different dynamic would have emerged. And that's why I would still focus on purpose as something to hang our head on, although I would never want to be on the opposite side of argument with John. But I think passion stems from purpose.
Okay, David Green, can I bring you into the conversation here? You do some interesting work at Project Impact as a social entrepreneur. Purpose has been obviously mission critical for what you do. Just tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and why purpose may or may not be at the core of what you do.
I've mainly worked in developing healthcare, primarily eye care programs that are self-financing from user fees, but where fees from higher paying patients cross-subsidize care for lower paying patients. So for instance, at Aravind Eye Hospital in India, they do 300,000 surgeries a year, and more than 60% are done for free, and yet they have more than a 50% profit margin. So the question is, I think control is very important, control and governance. Control in the hands of who? Aravind and a related institution that I helped start up, Aura Lab, which produces very affordable medical supplies. They've gained control of technology to be in control of production and therefore pricing for affordability. And so they have a purpose of providing eye care, of maximizing distribution rather than return on investment while still being profitable. Same case with Wells Fargo. They stuck to their core business and were maximizing distribution in the right way. And so I think it has to do with choice of how you use that profit and production capacity, and that creates a value system that perhaps skews a company away from just return on investment for personal use. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the comment. Is there any sense that purpose has to have a social value? I mean, what purpose does a second-hand car salesman have when he gets up every morning? Well, beyond putting food on the table for his family?
I think purpose certainly comes out of the social enterprise world, but I'm trying to make the argument that it applies across the board. If I'm a car manufacturer, my purpose is to produce the best car, and I think by focusing on that purpose, the other aspects come. If I'm, a software company or a chip producer, I want to produce the fastest processor, and I think hinging everybody on that purpose leads to all of these other four elements. So, quite the opposite. I don't think this is particular to social enterprise. I think we've maybe introduced the concept, but if people in other companies also hang their companies around whatever the purpose may be, everything else will follow.
Shai, can I bring you back in on that? Because he talks about car manufacturers, but there's an element where I'm debating whether you're driven by passion or is it purpose. I imagine it's not profit, but maybe you can set me straight on that.
I think it's a combination of passion with a mission that without a profit wouldn't create a revolution. And without a revolution, we won't have a world to be in. So when you understand the mission that we have, I mean, we're talking about the $700 billion of bailout for mortgages in the U.S. It just so happens that the U.S. will also import $700 billion worth of oil this year. Money went somewhere. Go back to the root cause. And so the mission is, how do we survive in this planet when oil runs out? The passion comes as a result of that. The purpose is there. And if we didn't show profits, you wouldn't get Renault and Nissan to go build millions of cars to fuel this transition. It's all of them together.
Okay. Vikram, let's ask you to step back in for a moment. Just sum up for us what we've heard here, why you think purpose may be the first among equals of the drivers.
Well, if I go back to Socrates, right, the question, why am I here, that applies to the individual, it is to live a good life, to find my mission. And I think the same thing applies to corporations. Why am I here? I'm not here to make money. That's not the purpose. I'm here to do something, to create something, to build something, to provide a service, and everything else follows from that. So I think this wisdom is as old as Socrates is.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a second to make the case for profit. I mean, come on, we're all in business, aren't we? Shouldn't that be the starting point here? We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Ernst & Young are proud to be associated with the World Economic Forum's annual meeting of the new champions in Tianjin. Ernst & Young, quality in everything we do. Ernst & Young are proud to be associated with the World Economic Forum's annual meeting of the new champions in Tianjin. Ernst & Young, quality in everything we do.
Welcome to our debate, What Wins Now, from the World Economic Forum meeting of the new champions in Tianjin, China. What should the people steering companies and economies prioritize? Is the excess which has brought major financial institutions to their knees in recent weeks the inevitable outcome of being motivated by profit or greed, as some might choose to call it? Let me invite Jeff Riddell to share with us his case now for profit.
Jeff Riddell, Chief Executive Officer of Zurich Financial Services Global Corporate.
Thank you, Jeff. We've heard three speakers, none of which I would violently disagree with. We've heard people from the audience say that all four of the P's are important. My thesis is that profit is the critical element. Some of the most tragic things I see are truly passionate people who've gone bankrupt, who've lost money because passion wasn't enough. I see purpose and people with great purpose failing because purpose itself isn't enough. If we look at economic theory, Marxist-Leninist theory is dead because we've seen that without the profit motive, we don't get the competitive instinct, we don't raise the bar, we don't improve what's happening. Profit is the essential driver of that. But Jeff made a mistake, as I would say there, when he said, is greed another name for profit? I would disagree with that. I think greed is typical of anything in excess, and excess is bad. In any extreme, any excess leads us to a bad place. I would suggest that we're talking about businesses here, and when you look at a business, you're talking about sustainable profit. Short-term profit becomes susceptible to greed. When one looks at sustainability, one has to take the other P's into account. One looks at customer relevance. Customer relevance is what makes people decide. Every transaction is decided because somebody's decided what is most relevant for them out of the choices available. For a business to be customer relevant, it has to understand the customer, it has to have a mission, it has to have a purpose. But without the rudder of profit, it will get into trouble.